Man, in the last 20 years of working in mental health, I can honestly say some of the most fucked up shit I've seen is because of anger. Mismanaged anger is everywhere, and the behavior that comes from it, from not knowing how to manage one's anger, really spiked during and in the aftermath of the pandemic. Hey, that's a quote from today's guest. Strap yourself in. We're going to take a deep dive on anger. Welcome to the show, everybody. Raw, uncut, and unapologetic. Welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness. We have Dr. J.J. Kelly joining us today, the punk rock doc, to help us get a grip on our anger, to understand also what makes it tick. Dr. Kelly is a licensed clinical psychologist, emotional intelligence expert, and best-selling author of the Holy Shit series of books, and also the CEO and founder of the Unortho Doc Incorporated. We've been laughing since the beginning, before we got on the air today. This episode is going to be a blast. Dr. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. You even told me you were going to do a quote from me, and when you started talking, I was like, "Oh yeah."
Who the fuck wrote that, right? Like, that's you, Dr. Kelly. Right? I feel you. And John, hey, always great to see you. I'm excited to dig into anger, and I'm just wondering, are you suffering with any anger right now? Just kind of.
I am not. Okay, so before we kicked off the show, Dr. Kelly asked Will how he's feeling, and he said good, and he was quickly lambasted for for saying good, because apparently good is not a feeling. So I'm seeing how am I feeling? I am feeling excited. I am feeling at the same time a little anxious because I don't want to get lambasted for saying the wrong thing. But we're gonna have a lot of fun today. So hey, before we get into the show, just a couple of announcements. Hey, get into what it is that we're doing. You can text MTM, just the letters, MTM to 33777, and you can see all that we're in. But I also wanted to say, hey, me and Will are so proud because this week we found out that we are listed in the top 10 mindfulness podcasts by iHeartRadio. So, hey, if you like what we're doing, spread that news. Spread the fact that we, Men Talking Mindfulness, are in the top 10 of the mindfulness podcasts out there, according to iHeartRadio. So thank you for your guys' support. Thank you to iHeartRadio for that. And also thank you to our current sponsors. And if you're interested in sponsoring, check it out. Again, MTM to 33777. Thank you all for being here, for tuning in, for sharing our podcast, and for helping us grow. And then let's go. So, JJ, hey, what we do for the show, I don't know if you've ever listened to the show. You should be listening because we're one of the top 10 out there in mindfulness. Hey. So what we do is we bookend the show with a mindfulness practice right at the beginning before we get into the questions, and then right at the end, just as much for our audience as it is for us, or rather just as much for us as it is for our audience, or rather our community. So I'll get into a one breath practice. That's all we do, just to get into our bodies, get into this time, into this space. So let's go ahead. If closing your eyes is available to you and you feel safe doing so, I invite you to close your eyes. Otherwise, just soften your gaze, and let's just bring our attention to our breath. And we'll begin by exhaling, letting it all out, emptying. And now take a long, slow, deep breath in, feeling all the way to the top, holding and noticing that feeling of fullness and letting it go. And relaxing, releasing, and bring some movement back into the body, maybe rolling your shoulders and blinking your eyes open. And here we are, nice and grounded. And JJ, so excited to have you. And again, like we said at the beginning, hey, you earned that doctorate for sure. So we introduced you as Dr. Kelly, but throughout the show, we're going to call you Dr. Kelly JJ. Hey, that said, JJ, can you start by defining anger in a few ways, what it is, and then where it tends to show up?
Well, it's just an emotion, like any other emotion. I mean, we have on the wheel, there are 20 different words for anger. So certainly rage is different than irritation. But much
for
like
sure.
a mindfulness practice, it's all on a spectrum anyway, right? That's how we think of things. Instead of black and white, it's on a spectrum. So it gets a bad rap because of people's behavior when they're angry, because they haven't been trained in how to effectively manage any of their emotions, including anger. And then that makes messes and hurts people. But I think fear and shame do that too. Sometimes joy, you can get carried away and make messes with that too if you don't know how to regulate it.
Right.
And then act according to your values instead of reactive to anger in the moment. Zero mindfulness. And then, it bites you in the ass later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, you kind of tapped into, some of the misconceptions about anger. Are there any kind of others that are, thrown on anger that aren't necessarily true?
Yeah. I don't know where you guys are, but in the Bay Area, this toxic positivity thing, this spiritual bypassing thing. I mean, the passive aggression here is palpable. People are like reverberating with, I'm not angry. I'm not an angry person. It's not a personality trait. It's an emotional experience. You might have habits, like I was saying before, you might have habits based on behaving reactively to anger, but it's not a personality trait. So everybody trying to like portray themselves as a good person, one of my many pet peeves, that makes them not good for anything. I mean, there's some sort of narcy loop of like trying to get people to perceive them as a good person who doesn't ever feel anger, as if that goes together. That's not real. I'm made of love, and people are still afraid of me because I got boundaries, and because I'll say, hey, you know what? Don't talk to me like that. I don't like that. You're pissing me off. You got to stop talking to me like that. Take a breath, or I'm done with this conversation. And that's a perfectly acceptable thing to say, even in a professional environment. Yeah. People don't like it, particularly from a woman, I would say, but I don't give a fuck, because I have a right to protect myself from any sort of fuckery that people
Tomfuckery.
I mean, people are all projecting their own unhealed childhood wounds on you all the time anyway. So it doesn't mean anything about you necessarily.
Right.
Yeah. Did that answer your question though, Will?
Definitely.
No, it definitely. I mean, I think I like you're tapping into the projection of anger, and I think that's one thing that people need to understand that are kind of on the receiving end of anger is very, very, or sometimes, or maybe very often, it really has nothing to do with you. It's a prior experience, or they're, reliving, like you mentioned, some sort of childhood trauma, and they're bringing it up over and over and over again, or just looking for the next target for their anger. And like you said, like standing up for yourself and being like, hey, like, chill out. Like, you don't need to speak to me that way. And if you continue to speak to me that way, like this conversation's over. But still holding space for them, maybe if they're worth it, and be like, like, can you ask me that question in a different way? Or can you approach this circumstance in a different way? Is a healthy way to go about it. But like, I think that's one thing. If like, if you're calm, cool, connected, if you're practicing more mindfulness and breathing and feeling that grounded, like you can kind of experience that anger coming from someone else, instead of like, if and maybe they can calm that situation down, right? Versus like if you're angry and the other person's angry, like you have no opportunity to really drop into the moment or really see what's going on objectively, right?
That's well said, because like to absorb, to take their anger seriously makes no sense at all. We talk about the advanced students, the docs. We talk about water off a duck's ass. One of them actually said to me, you do know, JJ, that it's water off a duck's back, right? I'm like, Obviously, I know that, dude. But that's a mindfulness thing too, right? It's like water off a duck's ass. Like, you don't let other people's stuff stick to you because you know who you are. You behave according to your values. You have intact self-esteem and self-confidence. So however somebody's coming at you, know in your grounded place that it's not about you. And I certainly have a lot more patience for clients that are reacting with anger. It's the job. Socially, I have very little tolerance of that kind of thing.
What's the disconnect there? Like in the office, you're like,
I'm not getting paid.
Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. Money.
That makes sense.
I don't have to do emotional labor for free. Absolutely not. If I do it with my loved ones to an extent, and a lot of times people experience me as challenging, and they often get most reactive and triggered when it's probably the truth. And I'm okay with that. Like, people don't have EQ, whatever. So they get defensive. They behave defensively. And okay, that's fine. I will work with that. I will be like, okay, well, that's a little bit defensive. Let's talk about how you're feeling based on what I just said. I'm cool with doing minimal emotional labor like that. However, if the next thing they say is some sort of attack on me or demonizing of me, now I'm out. Because now I know they're not appreciating the fact that I just slowed everything down. I'm now doing emotional labor and teaching without getting paid. I'm now teaching. And now they're going to attack my character as a way of like winning the power struggle. Like, that Jesus is just, Christ. It's such a low level. I just don't even deal with that.
Yeah.
I love that term, emotional labor. I've never heard that before, but that's a really good way of putting it. I enjoy that.
Oh yeah.
And I can totally feel it. It feels like you're working. I mean, physically working. Yeah, and you are, right? So we've talked about anger a little bit on the show before, and there's definitely times when anger is appropriate, which we obviously know that. But can you explain the difference between healthy and unhealthy anger?
Well, I don't think the emotion of anger is healthy or unhealthy. I think the behavior that comes from it will be healthy or unhealthy. I think that anger, since anger is the emotion that indicates to us that our boundaries are being crossed, it's very important to be in touch with it, even for personal safety, like physical safety. Sure. You need to know when you're getting that cue of like, what? No, don't like that. And have some awareness. And then when you validate the emotion, which is just naming it, then you've created that space where you can mindfully decide what you want to do about it. Okay, I'm off baseline. I'm activated. Okay, yeah, pissed off. It's definitely anger. Okay, I'm going to take a couple deep abdominal breaths just to calm down my central nervous system, get myself a little bit closer to baseline before I decide what I'm going to do. You got to get yourself back to baseline before you act, people.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people don't even do that because they haven't been taught. It's not anybody's fault. We're not taught this. I have such a push to get this into schools, a lot of red tape there. But imagine how your life would be different if we learned this in like middle school or high school.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, that's what I'm trying to teach with my kids right now. I've got young kids, and I wish that I could say that I have full control of my anger. I do not, but I'm definitely better than I was. And I'm trying to teach my kids those lessons. But I am going to get your wheel. So before we started the show, we brought up the emotions wheel or the feelings wheel. And Will and I have gotten into it before. But JJ said the one that's out there for the most part sucks. And her one is better because it actually lists feelings instead of just actions or verbs or other things thoughts, right? And you can check out her wheel on her website, which we'll discuss later. But so that anger, so that was interesting how you said you really don't feel that there's a healthy way to, let me see, did I get this right? Feel the anger. The anger itself is not healthy or unhealthy. It's the actions that occur afterwards. So what would you say how does anger affect our mental and our physical health?
Well, I think that the most obvious one there is the really explosive stuff. You know, we live in the kind of society where men in particular are only allowed one emotion, anger.
Right.
Wow, does that blow? I mean, I'm constantly, the patriarchy hurts dudes too. You know, like
right.
You're not allowed fear because it makes you a wuss. And so then what do? You hide the fear, and then it's explosive anger because you haven't dealt with the fear that has an energy of its own. And then you're not allowed to like feel sad and everybody dodges shame because it's so uncomfortable to sit with shame. You know, the parts of ourselves that we kind of don't like, we put that in a box somewhere and never look at it. So then a lot of times that's fuel for angry behavior as well. But what I see with mostly women is a stuffed anger for decades even, and the hostile being unacknowledged anger. That lives in your body, and then that comes out sideways too.
The body keeps the score,
parenting. Right? Yes. Oh my gosh. And then you get sick too. You know, I mean, the medical field is catching up on these things. You know, cardiologists talk about anger being a problem to, possible. I don't think they have gone so far to say cause, but, one of the factors leading to a heart attack, certainly cancers, like it's all going to catch up and find out that if there's
I could feel that
in alignment.
Yeah. Like when I get really angry, I can feel that in my chest. I can feel it in my heart. So I could definitely see how those two are related. I mean, and when you really peel back the onion and you think about the stress hormone that is released when you get angry, it's the stress hormone, cortisol, and that's norepinephrine, adrenaline, and that's it. In certain instances, that's good for us, right? Like if we're fighting a bear, we want that.
Yeah.
But if you're angry at somebody because they cut you off in traffic, what's that going to do to you? It can't be good for your health. So I definitely feel that.
And you can let it out, like if it's funny or something. I think I even say this in the book. Like it's not like I'm quiet in the car. Berkeley, California has some of the worst drivers I've ever seen in the world where I've traveled. It's like hesitation plus entitlement. Deadly combo.
Right.
Deadly combo. So, I'll be in the car and be like, what do you need? A written invitation? Make your left turn, lady. But it's mostly like that's a letting out. And it's not hurting anybody. It's mostly humorous. And I'm like, done. I'm not chasing her down, trying to mess with anybody. It's gone after that. So an expression like that doesn't hurt anybody. But when people are like speeding up or slowing down, it gets actually dangerous.
Sure.
Oh, you were saying, with your kids, John, like, you don't always control your, who could do that with kids? I don't even have kids, but I do work with kids. And I say that I'm mad. Like if they're under 11, I don't say pissed off. I don't swear in front of little kids. But, I'll be like, that's really making me mad. What you're doing right now, stop that. That's making me mad. If you continue to do it, there will be consequences, or I usually just state what the consequence is, and they know it beforehand too because I have laid it out. The cutting book is a parenting manual, and it has like, have the contract again on the fridge with the wheel. Have the contract of like what your privileges are, what the expectations are, what the consequences are for not meeting any sort of expectations, how long the consequences will last. I mean, even with little kids, I don't think there's any too early for doing these things, because it has the family all on the same page of how we're going to behave and what happens if we don't behave according to the family's values. And that also keeps the parents from making mood dependent decisions. Meaning, if they are like, oh, I don't want to give them that consequence because whatever, it's on the contract.
Yeah, right.
When you were in your wise mind, you made that contract. Right now, you're emotionally activated. We don't make decisions from an emotionally activated point. You go back to the contract and you stick to the contract, even if your heart breaks, because that's your job. You made people. Now do your job. Your heartbreaking matters not.
Well, Dr. Kelly, help us. Like, you're kind of touching on a little bit here, but I would like
a lot.
We've had right, exactly. But like we've had like what I would like you help us to understand is primary and secondary emotions, right? Where anger is often like a secondary emotion that's like tied to something deeper inside of us. So, is that true? Could you help us kind of iron that out a little bit?
I do go into it a little in the book because people say it so often, but I'm not a big ascriber to this language of primary and secondary. I think it's a little bit binary. And again, the spectrum of emotion and intensity of emotion, I think we have a lot of different emotions at the same time, and no one wants to deal with that. Everybody has this like linear way that they want to go about it. Oh, I'm feeling this, but not this. You could feel rage and joy at the same time.
Yeah. But like,
it's complex.
Exactly. But if I'm angry, and if you keep asking like the question, like, why are you angry? Why are you angry? And like really trying to get the rock bottom, it could be like, well, I was betrayed, and that's why I'm angry. You know what I mean? So it's like, and that betrayal in this example, it is like kind of the place to work from, where the anger almost, if this is the case, would kind of masks that wound of betrayal, if you will. And like you're acting out in anger instead of being like, oh, really kind of realizing or working from that place and being aware of like that place of betrayal. Is that, it's kind of like, I do like that for me sometimes, that understanding the depth of what is going on emotionally inside of me, instead of just, labeling it as anger or something like that, or whatever that secondary emotion is.
Well, let's break it down. Let's break it down.
Please.
So if you think you've been betrayed, the reason I say it, that betrayal is not an emotion. But if you think that you've been betrayed, how does that make you feel? Angry. Hurt. Anger is appropriate, but yes, to your point, I think I would definitely dig in. First of all, if you think you're being betrayed, it's a thought that may or may not be true. Just because you think it doesn't
or I was
betrayed.
True. You know what I mean? If someone breaks my trust, right? Like that's betrayal. You know what I mean? Right? Or is betrayal really not a feeling? Because it's like,
it's not.
Well, I think it's an action, right? So you've been betrayed. But
if you think you've been betrayed, yes.
Okay.
Then of course you'd be pissed off. I don't think that that's a problem. And then I would dig in further and be like, well, okay, I'm not even arguing whether you've been betrayed or not. I'm just pointing out the fact that it's not an emotion. And just because we think things, it doesn't make it true. And that gets us into major trouble. Believing everything we think is like the basis of mindfulness, is trying to not have us do that, right? We watch our thoughts. We don't attach to any of them. We wait till we're back to baseline. We're emotionally regulated. Then we go back to those thoughts and see if they're true once we're in our wise mind, right? So, okay, let's say you're in your wise mind and we're talking about the person's actions and the betrayal. And then I'm like, because you're encouraged as a dude to do only anger with it, of course I'm going to knock on the door of the sadness, the hurt that's underneath it, the devastation even. If it's somebody that you trusted and it was somebody really close to you, you can feel even my voice is changing, right? From the anger, has that energy to like that sunk in, God damn it, the disappointment that goes with the radical acceptance that somebody fucked you over and now you don't trust them as much anymore. There's a loss in that. There's a grief. So yes, of course we're going to get to the sadness too. I just don't think of things as like primary and secondary because it has, those words have a like more important or less important.
Oh, right.
Or
That's a great point. That's a really good point.
And not, you know, like, and I don't do that kind of binary stuff. Everything's in the Venn diagram and we work in the gray. The black and white thinking is part of what causes all the fear and the depression.
Excellent.
So we work with the gray.
What about if we're looking at just the terms themselves rather than using primary and secondary, which, like you said, kind of denotes one's more important than the next? Could you say initial and following, something to that effect? Just would that make sense?
You could. I mean, and this is just me, man. Do what you want to do. I just think that I'm always trying to pick apart the old stories and our mind getting in the way instead of working with emotions. The mind is what fucks us over. The body doesn't lie.
100%.
And we want things to be linear. And I just don't think they are.
Okay.
I think things happen sort of spherically, like many different things in all directions at the same time. And I just think it benefits us to not cling to that kind of regimented way of thinking just because everything's so fluid. Our relationships are fluid. Our emotions are fluid. So yeah, we want to get a grasp on it, but I don't think taking it to a base level necessarily helps us to grasp the vastness of it.
Yeah. Well, I think, I would just what you said there, I think is interesting because I bet I would guarantee that those primary and secondary emotions are probably something that came forth through men, because I know from the work I've done the work I've done, men are very linear in our thinking. We just want to get to the fucking solution. We want to rank and file and put everything in order. Problem solve. Get to the right. Exactly. Versus
which is a strength.
Which is great. I'm not. Yeah, exactly. I was sitting the gray, right? Is where the emotional realm is, right? And really being with that, So speaking from that, like, what are some of the challenges that that kind of men typically, face with, like, kind of dealing with their anger? Like,
I think the biggest one I already said, which is that they're only allowed the emotion of anger, and sadness and fear has a judgment of weakness put on it, when actually it is incredibly courageous for men in a patriarchy to tell the truth to themselves that they're scared, that they're sad. Right. Like, you're going against the grain. That's punk as fuck, by the way. and then you lead other men. You give them permission to do the same because you're in a leadership position. And if you're able to find your courage to tell the truth to yourself and then out loud to other men, man, you're doing the higher work with something like that. They look up to you. Lead.
Yeah, exactly. And lead with vulnerability, lead with awareness, lead
authenticity.
With authenticity, right? Absolutely.
That's right.
Lead by example, right?
Yes.
It takes a lot of fucking courage.
Courage. I mean, I just don't think courage backfires much.
I agree.
I love that.
That's a great statement.
That is. Totally agree. Hey, we need to go ahead and timestamp that because we got to come back to that one for sure. That's got to be one of the snippets.
Yeah. I mean, courage leads with your heart. And when you're heart led and heartfelt and heart experiencing the world, like it just goes right to the heart of other people, unless you're dealing with some sort of psychopath. But overall, 99% of the population, right, is just be like, oh shit, like I could feel that, and it gives you a moment of pause when you're speaking from that heart. And that pause is that time. It's like, wait, am I being an asshole here? Or whatever's coming up. So yeah, thank you for that. That's awesome. Well said. Thank you.
You can feel the truth when you're in the presence of it. And then the mind
100%
comes in and like, no, but that feeling, that resonance, we've had some of it even now, like this discussion that's like, I call it like the heart tube. Right? Like there's some sort of energy between us. And when I'm with somebody that is like really dumping some heavy shit, heavy trauma, I will like turn my heart just slightly away so we're not head on.
You're not in the tube.
In order to, and the glasses too, like the window of the soul. Like there's a little bit of protection there so that I can continue to do my job and like hold the space for them and not have it get into me. Because I've heard horrific shit. And if I involve myself or it gets to me, then I'm going to be less effective in my ability to help that person through the muck.
Oof. Yeah. I can only imagine some of the stuff that you've heard. I mean, some of the stuff that we've heard on the show is pretty powerful, but that's obviously sharing it with two people and then sharing it with our audience. But sharing one-on-one, you're going to share, I'm sure, a lot more detail. So that can, I'm sure, stir up emotions in you. I can only imagine. But I've got a couple questions. In the beginning, we talked about the pandemic and how the pandemic has actually created more anger in people, or maybe create is the wrong word. I'm sure you'll help me to find the right word. But
short fuse. Everybody is up to here with tolerating shit they don't want, and now it's just leaking. Oh my gosh.
Okay. And so that kind of leads me to the follow-on question, like how do environmental factors potentially trigger anger, and then what role does empathy play in diffusing it?
Wow. Environmental factor. I mean, I think it's really important to realize first, our triggers are our responsibility.
Thank you.
We're constantly putting it on other people. You triggered me. Yeah, no shit. You're paying me to do that. Like that, like how do you think you change except to notice triggers, validate the emotion, and then move through it? There are triggers everywhere in the world. So
what are some of those? Like just what are some of those?
It varies based on person. Like, the driving thing is an easy one, but that's about like fear. Somebody cut you off and you thought that you were going to hit, and now you're scared, but you react in a pissed off way and you're judging them for being a shitty driver or whatever. It's like everybody thinks that if you would just stop doing that thing, I would be fine. And that is not reality.
That's not responsibility.
At all. The triggers are, why are you triggered by that thing? You think that might have something to do with you? Because the person next to you is not triggered by the same thing. So what the hell? Put the responsibility back on you and validate your emotions. Pissed off. Fine. Why? Why is that your trigger? Go back. What unhealed childhood wound is playing out right now?
Oof.
And our partners, such a great example, our partners, everybody, when they get in a romantic partnership of any kind, that's when all our childhood unhealed wounds come up and they trigger us constantly. Well, what if we looked at our partners triggering us as thank you for giving me the cue to my unhealed childhood wounds so I can now go work on that. I can analyze it. I can think about it. I can write about it. I can wonder with curiosity, what about that thing that she said or he said or they said tweaked me so much? Why that? Because it's something about me. But what do? We're like, you got to stop doing that. You're pissing me off. There's such an opportunity with the person that we love so much to work together to help us heal those wounds that contribute to our triggers.
Now, what you just did there with kind of, hey, my partner did this, but it triggered something in me. What is that it triggered? Kind of peeling back the onion. Is that the dialectical behavior therapy? Is that an example of that? And if not,
yes,
what is that?
I kind of made that one up.
Okay.
Like I just, I've been doing it so long that things come up that I see in a patterned way. I never make, assumptions on a one-off, right? I watch with hundreds and thousands of people. It's how I discovered that panic attacks are linked to stuffed anger. But
of course.
The thing with the partnerships, I mean, I rarely do couples anything anymore because I think you can fight at home for free. But if I get ahead of it, and I don't do therapy anymore either. So it's a different thing. It's more of a coaching and emotional intelligence training for the rare couple that I will work with. It's more preventative. It's not like putting a Band-Aid on a river of blood. People go into couples therapy so late in the game. It's like, what do you want me to do? Just get away from each other.
It's way fucked up.
Yeah. But I mean, when you see people that really love each other and they keep missing each other, it's usually this trigger thing. And it's like, if you can get in a practice of mindfulness that has let you build your self-esteem and self-confidence enough to detach from anyone, enough to have that space where you can consider, oh, that's not me, or, oh, that's not them. What is that? Oh, that's because of what my dad did or my mom did. And, I don't want to get all Freudian with it, but like there are wounds. Most people don't, it takes another 18 years to like heal the first 18, but nobody does that work rarely until they're in a crisis in their 40s, something like that. Right. Or they're going to get divorced. So they have to, their partner's like, if you don't go to therapy, then we're done or whatever. But like we're all subject to that. There were things that hurt us when we were little. And it's not even like a parent blame thing. Everybody's imperfect. We just got to deal with that.
Well, what would you say to somebody that's listening right now and is like hearing your words and realizing, wait, like, I don't want to get so fucked up that I can't pull myself back. Like, where is a good place to start?
Clarify that to me. I don't want to get so fucked up that I can't.
Well, I mean, like you just mentioned, like, you mentioned like getting in your 40s and then start dealing with your shit, or like doing it in your like 50s. And then it's like, you're kind of too far gone because, there's so much.
Done.
Okay. Yes. But it's going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of focus, probably a lot of money,
awareness,
right? A lot of awareness. Right.
Yeah.
But like, where is a good place to start, so you don't get so jacked up by and like pulled into this, like just living in reactive lives and being drug around by your emotions. Like, where's a good place to start? So, I'm not paying you like $1 million a year to work with you.
Yeah. No, I mean, my goal is to have people not work with me forever. Like,
you're fucking awesome.
Get the skills, go off on your own.
Exactly.
Like this thing with therapy. Oh my God. The dependency alone. Like we got to be able to stand on our own 2 feet, man. And lots of shrinks suck too. Like they're so narcissistic. They get
the unorthodox, right? You say?
Yeah. I think having the courage to tell yourself the truth, like go look at what you don't like about your current behaviors.
Oh,
you know, that is such a basic, nobody argues with me on the surface of that exercise, but man, do people while out when they're on their own. Oh, he's got a stupid assignment, you know, and people of all ages. That's like sounds teenagery, but I get that from all ages. And this is stupid, or I forgot. Oh, the dog ate your homework, CEO. Come on, what the fuck are you? And I think that there is a lack of truth telling because there's fear about being accountable. Shame is a motherfucker. Shame makes people hide. And the more you hide in that shame closet, the more it grows. And then shame is the hiding of the shame spikes anxiety, which makes us more reactive, more likely to engage behaviors that don't match our values, and then causes more shame, snake eating its own tail. So if you can sit down with yourself, I just got chills. If you can sit down with yourself and take an inventory, nobody has to see it, burn it after. I don't give a shit, but just be with yourself and make a list of the current behaviors that you engage in that don't match your values. Maybe you want to do column 1, what your values are. Column 2 is the behaviors you currently engage in that don't match your values. Column 3 is behaviors that you could engage in instead of column 2 that do match your values.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I'm going to do that.
I do that with people and they're all like, oh, that's so basic, whatever. No, just do it.
Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about. Like, just don't fight me. You're fighting me on it because you feel fear, which makes me like I'm on to something. There's method to the madness, people.
Well, also with that, in that kind of conversation, like you're really not, because I think what's important here is in order to take responsibility and have the courage to take responsibility and to realize that you're the solution and the problem, right? And therefore that's going to take a certain amount of maturity as a person in order to do that, right? And when you're blaming everybody else for your fucking problems, right? You're not taking any responsibility and therefore you're acting like a child, right? I mean, you got to step up.
Right? I'm laughing because JJ's sitting there.
That's
you got to
fuck right there.
Yes, you got to come and watch this episode because you got to see JJ's emotions.
That is so articulate. Yes, to the point. You're so dead on, Will.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
The offloading of responsibility. That's the trigger thing again, right? Like, you're triggering me. Well, why? Yeah. What is it about what I'm saying? How does it make you feel? What makes you want to bury that shit immediately?
Right.
Because the buried shit, we got to go into the dark to feel it and move into the light. All that buried shit festers whether we want to believe it or not. You cannot heal shit that you won't look at.
Yes. Thank you. Yep. 100%.
Yeah, I felt
again,
that.
People don't argue with me when I say that as just like an intellectual statement. But when we dig in and do it, they fight me tooth and nail.
Right. Kicking and screaming
nobody
like a kid.
Gives up. Yeah, nobody gives up their defense mechanisms without a fight. I mean, it helped us survive childhood. So, like, why would we give it up? But the problem is we're not children anymore, and we're still using the same tactics, survival tactics. Like, it has to evolve. But again, who teaches us that?
Right. And
we're trying.
You know what you've just been talking about with this shame. you've got the Holy Shit series of books, and you've got one new that's the Holy Shit, This is Shame. So I want to make sure our audience looks that up, our community looks that up and checks it out. But then you just mentioned learning a lot of this emotional intelligence when you're young, and maybe unpacking it when you're older and using it, because so many of us are not young anymore, right?
Yeah.
So, why are you? Why are you? Because it's pretty obvious. But what are you doing to push emotional intelligence down to our youth, down into schools? I know that's something that you're passionate about. What are you doing with that?
It's so hard. I mean, the red tape and bureaucracy of public school, it's hard. And I don't want to just have it for rich kids either. So it's an ongoing struggle. But the Gifted Misfits book is the 8 weeks of my Get Real program based on DBT. So, whatever it is, $13 or whatever, you can do, you can go through it yourself. And I am trying to get it into schools as much as possible. I do, I do speaking and webinar stuff for parents too. We're doing emotions camps again. Oh, God, that drained me so much. The kids got a lot out of it, but I was just so fried every day. So now we're going to do it in a way where somebody else runs it and I can just come on and teach and then go away. And I'm not doing everything. So 2025 summer, we're doing emotions camps. Those are rad. We do, I got one of the docs is a professional MMA fighter. So he does. Yeah, oh my God, talk about a badass.
That's badass, exactly.
Oh my God. And then she teaches some of the baby docs and some of the other younger people self-defense with the DBT skills infused in it. So, that is so cool. We'll do probably a TM training, transcendental meditation at the emotions camps. Each day we do one of the modules of DBT, we often do dance or art or even plants. It's super cool. So, I do what I can. But I wish, I don't know, I don't know if there's some way. I probably, once I get into one school, it'll break it open or I don't really know how it's, but I've been working with kids forever.
Oh, we got to introduce you to the guys that are heading up the Holistic Life Foundation. Now, granted, they're on the other side of the country, but they're doing mindfulness and meditation in inner city schools in Baltimore, and they've found the way to crack that code. So maybe we'll have to do some intros there.
Yeah, calling it mindfulness.
Yeah. So. You mentioned DBT there. I asked the question there before about the dialectical behavior therapy, and I have actually never heard of that. Can you explain to our community what exactly is DBT?
Yeah. In a nutshell, it's everything's the Venn diagram. Black and white, find the gray. Reasonable mind, emotion mind, and in the middle is wise mind. I mean, with your mindfulness, it's Zen mindfulness meets CBT, cognitive behavior therapy.
Yeah,
it's assertiveness training and emotion regulation, interpersonal effectiveness. That's all the CBD. That's funny, Freudian.
I know, got you. Look, you might want to take some of that. You might want to take some of that before dropping into DBT. Yeah. Anyway.
That's fine. And then the mindfulness and the distress tolerance modules are straight from Thich Nhat Hanh's Miracle of Mindfulness.
Yeah.
So it's such, it's so cool. You got to check it out with what you all do. You got to check it out. It's so rad. Don't bother looking it up. It'll freak you out. Do the Gifted Misfits book, because it was originally developed for chronically suicidal inpatients back in the late 80s. So I tell people don't bother looking it up, because then they think that I think that they have borderline personality disorder, and it's not that anymore. It's been adjusted to all kinds of people, and it's for everyone.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
definitely check that out.
Yeah,
you know what though?
Sure.
For you guys in particular, that holy shit, what do women want? The Young Gentleman's Guide to Love and Partnership. Dude, that talks about values. It's that 3-column thing I was talking about, like accountability, emotional intelligence, spirituality. It goes through each of those to help young men. I mean, it's a like incel prevention and treatment book, but I don't market it that way, because I don't want to insult anybody. I want them to pick up the book and learn, right? So everybody,
we'll cut this part of we'll cut this part of the podcast out so they don't. I'm just kidding.
Well, I think all men are.
Yeah. I'm glad that you're doing that kind of work. Well, I mean, how about so mindfulness? Like, how can the practice of mindfulness and meditation help manage our anger?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's everything, right? Do you all meditate in addition to mindfulness?
Yeah. I love that you said that. Yeah. I love that you asked that question that particular way, because so many people believe that mindfulness is meditation and meditation only. But as we've talked about on our recent episode on Back to the Basics, meditation is just a part of mindfulness. So, yeah, I'm glad that you asked it that way. But
meditation is mindfulness. Mindfulness is not meditation.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, we actually, before you answer, like we have, and please, Dr. JJ, we have like 2 meditation courses running simultaneously right now in order to teach people these basic skills. So if you have anybody out there, when we offer our next one, please put them in our direction. But please help us understand, how can. Let's just start meditation. How can meditation help us to manage anger?
Oh, man. And I've tried all kinds. I really think I can confidently say all kinds of meditation. But I've been doing the TM since 2017 now, and it's just so damn easy. It's the easiest one I've ever done. So, it's easy to continue. Man, I don't know what I would have done holding all the emotions of all those people during the pandemic without meditation. So to answer your question, I think that, man, it's so hard to crystallize into one thing how great meditation is. But I think it improves our relationship with ourselves first. I think it 100%. Carves out the time, first of all, just to slow the fuck down. But there's something that happens in meditation where you are just with you, and you get to that wordless place where you're just you in a form of you that is undefined, but you know it. Like in your heart anyway. Like you don't have to put words to it. You can't anyway, especially when you're in that state. But you fuck coming out of it and trying to put words to it. That's that linear thing again. Like you just know. Just like be okay and confident in you knew what it was. You knew what you felt. So just go with that. And I think between the slowing down and the counterculture-ness of just slowing down. I think, there's science about the brain waves too. But I think it helps me be more me, whatever that is.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, 100%. I mean, we have this incredible technology inside every single being is basically the same technology inside of all of us, and a lot of that comes from calming down. Number one, we can't get to the heart. We can't get to the self without calming down first, because we talked about hormones earlier, and cortisol is the biggest motherfucking hormone of all, in the sense when cortisol is in town, you don't have a shot of really experiencing anything else but whatever comes along with cortisol. I mean, seriously, because like our body is stimulated in a way in that like survival mode that we need to get the fuck out of here. Everything is threat. Versus like once we calm down, once we release that massive cortisol dump, right, then we can kind of get in to like, oh, wait, like, oh, this is what I'm all about. This is the self. This is my heart. And I see it with the students we have gone through the program, the students that are going through it right now. they're like, they wake up and they're like, oh my God, like I had no idea that what an asshole I am, or how angry I can be, or how anxious I've been. And that's where it really all begins. And what you're saying is so true. I mean, like we just got to just calm down and then see what happens from there. And
that's what we should call our next course, Will, instead of anything. No, well, calm as fuck would be great too, but stop being an asshole. Just stop being an asshole.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, mindfulness for men, or meditation for men. Yeah, that's good. That's like good work. Anyway,
don't be a dick.
Yeah. There you go. Totally.
I think that's what the All Blacks, the New Zealand rugby team, they have a sign up over their locker room that says "Don't be a dick, don't be a dickhead" or something like that. But hey, just physiologically, Will, I mean, coming back to the cortisol, like what dumps the cortisol? The amygdala, right? And meditation, it's been shown that meditation can actually help to shrink the amygdala, which causes it to be less reactive. Yeah. Now, obviously, we don't want to get rid of the amygdala, but it can shrink it so that you respond instead of react. So
yeah, we also want to be able to discern what a threat is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
What is the threat? You know what I mean? Like not everything. And if you're in that heightened state, everything is a threat. It's
right.
Calming down. It's like, wait, is that really my fucking problem? No, most of the time it's not at all.
Right.
So
is that thing going to kill me? Nope.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe you want to be courageous and go toward it.
Courage again. Courage.
Yeah, courage again. My God.
Yes.
A lot of themes popping
Fear
up.
lies. Fear lies to us all the time. But we're animals wired for fear. So we got to deal with that and then assess, okay, is that thing going to kill me? No. Well, do I also know in my infinite wisdom that all the good stuff in life is scary? Well, maybe I want to go toward it then.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Expand. Yeah. You're always expanding with courage. It's the best thing about courage is you do things that you never thought 5 years ago you would ever. Christ, did I think I'd start a company? I had a great practice, dude. I had the most cush life. I'm a clinician, and then I start this business. Who the fuck do I think I am? But you got to do what you got to do, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can't be limited by fear.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, I think we've done a pretty good job, John.
Yeah.
Any questions? For you?
I wanna ask before we wrap up. You know, you're known as the punk rock doc. Who's your favorite punk rock band? And maybe favorite song?
I could never answer that.
Well, give top three. Top three. Top three today.
No, I mean I'm into War on Women now pretty heavily. I've seen them live a few times. And I think, that's Bad Cop with the Medusa skateboard back there. But Fishbone. I love Fishbone. I love Fishbone. It's got the racial tolerance piece. It's got the happy. I mean, anything's people rip on ska all the time, but I like ska with the punk a whole lot.
Nice mix.
It's fun. It's happy. It's, all flavors of people get to be together. Angelo's so rad. Such a performer. Man, that's a tough question.
I should have prepared you for that one.
Yeah, man, shit. No, I know that I could answer it with an hour to think about it.
How are you feeling right now? How are you feeling, JJ?
I'm feeling
great.
Excited. I'm feeling activated.
All right,
awesome.
Good.
It's a fun time, man.
Yeah, anything else that we didn't cover you think our mostly male audience should hear?
No, I mean, I think that book, the What Do Women Want book, is going to come in real
I'm getting
handy.
that. I'm getting that. Yep.
And you have to pick somebody as your audience. It says the Young Gentleman's Guide, and even like the Gifted Misfit says the Young Folks Guide, but they just make you do that for marketing. You know what I mean? It's for everybody. You don't have to be a young man for that to work. It's all about how to be a better partner.
We're all young men, right? All young men at heart.
Yeah. I mean, and you don't even have to be a dude. It's about values and how to act according to your values. So I think the shame one is really going to stir shit up. There's some really heavy shit in there. Like, you know, I went to 12 years of Catholic school. So there are some stories in there of that kind of shit. But also the narcissism book, man. That one's funny, which helps the medicine go down. But narcissism was the pandemic before COVID. So, and it's a tricky one too. Talk about like anger and the way they use anger to like get you to back down and manipulate you. Like, it's why water off a duck's ass is so important, that energetic disconnect from other people's shit when they're like throwing hooks all the time, trying to control you. Like, that's complex shit.
Yeah. Awesome. And what's the best way to find you?
Everything's on the website, drjjkelly.com. The TikTok's on there, Insta. There's so much free stuff to learn on the social media. The books are on there, you know, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. The wheel.
There you go. I'm getting that wheel. Yeah. I'm going to get that. All right. That's awesome. So, and that's Dr. J.J. Kelly, Kelly. I know some people throw an extra E there.
They do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I tried to a couple times in writing our notes, and I was like, wait, no, there's no E. No second E anyway.
And also the Holy Shit series is all available on Amazon. So just for everyone listening out there, you can find that. But we're just going to close with our it's really simple breath practice, just to kind of, you know, let people know that the breathing can really calm your ass down, get you out of fucking anger and wake the fuck up, you know, to how you can be more responsible, you know? So, sorry, I'm like...
I love leading into a meditation with dropping like 17 words.
That's what I do with my advanced students. Yeah. Get your ass in the chair. Get your spine straight. Feet flat on the floor, motherfuckers.
Sit your ass down. Sit your ass down. Let's do some breathing right now. Right,
when we upload this show to publish, it always asks, "Hey, is there any explicit language?" And it's just a yes or a no. I should say yes, lots.
Or fuck yes. Fuck yes, there is. Fuck yes, there is. Okay, here we go. 3 breaths, everybody. Sit your ass down. Get that long ass, beautiful fucking spine going. Open that heart. Open those lungs. We're just going to start with an exhale. Let it go and really just drop that deep down into your seat. Feel that breath and take a big, giant inhale into your belly as best you can. Bigger, bigger, bigger. Let it go out nice and smooth and easy. Yeah, easy, easy, very nice. And just a couple more. Bigger breath if you can take one. Easier breath if you can create one. And one more to top it off. Inhale. And let it go. There we have it, everybody. Dr. Kelly, we so appreciate your time. We're going to have you back. We should probably bring that emotion wheel in, you know, do this. What a great vibe between the three of us. You fucking are a punk rock motherfucker. Yes. Yes. 100%.
Should all go to a concert together.
Oh my God. I would love that.
Yes.
The Descendants. Oh my God. That would rule.
Yeah.
What a blast. Hey, it has, like Will said, JJ, Dr. Kelly, it's been so awesome having you here today. We really appreciate you sharing all this. We appreciate all the fun. I'm coming out of this actually with my face kind of hurting from smiling so much. So
seriously,
you rock. So, hey, and thank you for our audience. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for joining. We sincerely appreciate that. And go ahead, Will.
Us one of the best.
That's right.
Mindfulness podcast
Top
on the
10,
planet.
baby.
Top 10.
Top 10.
Well, until next time, everyone. Take care. Thank you. Peace.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you walk away with some new tools and insights to guide you on your life journey. New episodes are being published every week, so please join us again for some meaningful discussion. For more information, please check out mentalkingmindfulness.com.